Hey, everybody, and God bless you. I wanted to come on and ask a question of this community, and I hope you'll leave comments and feedback. And that question is, which is also the title for today's video, was Martin Luther King Jr. prophetic? And so, what do I mean by prophetic? Well, in this community, prophetic means to hear the voice of Jesus, to discern, to recognize, to examine the voice of Jesus. And that is, of course, recorded in St. John chapter 10, where Jesus says, My sheep will know my voice. And then he said, My sheep will not follow another. So we're talking today about Martin Luther King on his birthday and on the day where his life and service is celebrated throughout the United States. And I wanted to pin this question. And so here's the evidence of why. And I'm not going to give my opinion. I just want to weigh in, share the evidence with you, and then see what do you have to say. And so, in one of the biographies that I read, unfortunately, I don't remember which one. I've read quite a few of Martin Luther King Jr.'s biographies, but in one of the biographies, he shares this experience, and I quote, "I was ready to give up with my cup of coffee sitting untouched before me. I tried to think of a way to move out of the picture without appearing a coward. In this state of exhaustion, when my courage had all but gone, I decided to take my problem to God. With my head in my hands, I bowed over the kitchen table and prayed aloud. The words I spoke to God that midnight are still vivid in my memory. I am here taking a stand for what I believe is right, but now I am afraid. The people are looking to me for leadership, and if I stand before them without strength and courage, they too will falter. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I've come to the point where I can't face it alone. At that moment, I experienced the presence of the divine as I had never experienced God before. It seemed as though I could hear the quiet assurance of an inner voice saying, Stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and God will be at your side forever. Almost at once, my fears began to go. My uncertainty disappeared. I was ready to face anything. All right. And so again, I'm sorry, I don't unquote. I don't remember what book I read that from. I'm actually reading that from an article that was written in the Catholic Reporter, and it was on the internet. But I do remember reading that account, and it does appear that after that experience, Martin Luther King changed his whole uh, and he began to embrace the reality of a call on his life to be a reformer, to be a leader, to be a Moses to the black people of America. All right, and so, but does that one experience make him prophetic? He says he heard the voice of the Lord. I believe that was literal, and having once heard the literal voice of God myself, at a time where I was not prophetic, I did not know how to hear God in that sense, but I did believe at least that God did speak. And so then when you look at some of the languages, my second evidence of was Martin Luther King Jr. prophetic, when you look at some of the language of his speeches and his discourses and even his messages that was delivered first at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, where he pastored, and then later at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, where he co-pastored with his father. A lot of his language suggests prophetic. It suggests prophetic language. One of the most, probably the most famous delivery that he gave is called a speech, but it's really a discourse. And it's the speech called "I Have a Dream," and a dream is prophetic language, and so as a dreamer, as one who has a dream, he is actually seeing something beyond his current reality, and he's looking into the future. In this instance, it was not a personal dream, even though he did insert himself in the dream message, but it was a dream for America. Could Martin Luther King Jr. have been, could he, that August the 28th, 1963, could he have been conveying the dream of Jesus for America? Though the dream did not come to pass in his lifetime, that dream still lives. And so there's a possibility that that dream will manifest fully in a society. I'm not sure if it will be the society we know as the United States, but I do believe that there will be a society one day where the dream of Martin Luther King will come to pass. And so when he told the dream, he was looking into the future. He was looking in the present, but he was looking into the future. And that's what prophetic people do. My third and final piece of evidence I want to offer is April the 4th, 1968. Um, um, Actually, it might have been April the 3rd. I believe he was assassinated on April the 4th, but on April the 3rd, 1968, in Memphis, he gave a message entitled "I've Been to the Mountaintop," which is clearly a message that he is about to die. I'm not suggesting that he knew he was going to die, but we do know in the scriptures that Moses had heard the Lord say, go to the top of the mountain, look into the promised land, and then you're going to die. Could it have been that the Lord gave that message to Martin Luther King to prepare the people that he had led, the people who he had given his life to, his service, that he was getting ready to leave, that he was getting ready to depart? And in that message, he says, I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. And that's very prophetic. That's prophetic language. So many times, as a preacher, as a preacher, um, Martin Luther King would be overtaken by the Spirit. I remember Coretta Scott King sharing that, and she talked about when he would be overtaken by the Spirit and would begin to preach. That will often I could relate to that, because that will often happen to me. And the person who is carrying the message becomes another person, and they begin to speak in another realm. And so my question is, was Martin Luther King Jr. prophetic? Now we know that he was a Baptist minister, a Baptist pastor. The Baptists do not traditionally believe in the gifts of the supernatural or the prophetic, and certainly they did not in the 1950s and 60s. He was a part of the evangelical church, but God was still using select persons, and he was still causing his gifts to manifest in certain persons. So I would love to hear, what do you think? Was Martin Luther King prophetic? Was Martin Luther King not prophetic? And let's have a discussion, okay? God bless you. Thanks for watching. Shalom.